Hey YouTube, Nick Too Sick here, back with another fishing video. It's the middle of August, so it's that time of month again, everybody. Time for the California Delta Fishing Report for August 2018. Thanks again, everybody, for watching and for all the support. I appreciate it, you guys. It's been another fantastic month out here on the California Delta. In a nutshell, the bass bite is as good as it's ever been. A largemouth, catching them off the hook right now. Striped bass, catching them like crazy right now. Been exciting days. I can't even remember the last time I got skunked, you guys, to be honest. I feel like every time I go out, I'm catching them good right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and share that information with you guys now. The couple of patterns that I've stumbled upon this month have been very consistent in quality. So let's get into it. For those of you who are familiar with the Delta, know that right now is the middle of frog season. It's top water season right now. Lots of frog tournaments going on. We have the Ultimate Fishing Challenge, the Snag Proof Open. It's frog time. And with that being said, I'm still throwing the frog, ladies and gentlemen, like I have been opening up my last 3 or 4 videos with. Now is the frog. Like I've said before, this is absolutely the most exciting and thrilling way to bass fish. Most fishermen would agree with that. You know, a lot of action. Watching the bass come out of the water and eat your bait is very exciting and a lot of fun and rewarding too as well. So I'm throwing Ish's Poppin' Fatty. Those of you who watch my channel know this is my frog. This is what I like to throw. And I switched my color for the month. I've been throwing white the past 3 months, and now I am throwing the same frog in Sexy Ish. What I've found right now is that the bluegill bite is really good. The bass are hitting these certain colors really well. So I've been throwing the same color theme all month, and I've been slaying with it. So as you can see, this frog right here is chartreuse and white. It's got a little bit of orange in there under the belly, and it's got some blue on the back. This looks a lot like a bluegill from the bottom. The top of the surface, splash this around on top, and these big bass think they're getting themselves a bluegill. Bluegill, they do feed on top of the water. They're a species that is known to do that. So a lot of the time these animals come up to eat off of the surface, and the bass ambush them from below. So it's very natural for a bass to do that and attack this bait. It works really well. So if you have anything chartreuse and white and blue right now, it's working really well. Highly suggested. So I'll start my days throwing the frog. About 75% of the days, 80% of the days it'll work. I'm not gonna lie to you, there's some mornings I get out there though and the frog bite just isn't working. But I always start with the frog, and that is catching the biggest bass right now out in the Delta out of the heavy cover. So that's kind of what I've been fishing, is deep in these heavy mats and that sort of thing. So with that extra chartreuse and color in there, you get the bluegill, and the waters are really muddy right now. As you can see behind me, lots of activity, jet skis, boating, muddy water. So those extra bright colors help a lot with the clarity. In addition to throwing a frog, I have been doing a lot of punching. I'll get up to the mat, throw the frog around the mat, and then I'll start punching in the mat. So I want to talk a little bit about the way that I like to punch. Here's my punching setup, what I've been throwing this month. This is a Missile Baits D-Bomb in the candy grass color. As you can see, it is a green pumpkin and purple and green looking bait. It looks like a bluegill to me. It matches that same greenish blue profile, and also the gills out here, they'll get purple as well. So I just match that with a Paychex punch skirt. I think this color is called Alimony. As you can see, again, blue and chartreuse, black, looking like a bluegill profile. I like to throw the punch skirt, you guys. I think it slows the bait down just a little bit, gives it a little bit of more volume. So I'll match that up with a River to Sea tungsten trash bomb. I prefer the 1.5 ounce. I like to use the ounce too for throwing you know, like hydrilla and submerged vegetation, and I'll do 1.5 ounce, sometimes even 2 ounce for the immerged vegetation. So that's a look at that. Throw that in the mat, bounce it up and down a few times, and that's getting bit really good. A lot of big bass are biting that. That is a big bass technique, and it's a technique that, you know, a lot of amateur fishermen do not use. Punching is for the big boys, people who want to catch big bass, who are experienced. I'm not saying an amateur can't do it. What I'm saying is amateurs typically don't do it. So if you are interested in kind of, you know, getting to that next level, setting yourself apart, targeting areas that a lot of other people don't target, try frogging and punching and get in that thick stuff. So with that being said, those have been my two main big bass bites right now. I have a couple other ones that I've been throwing this month that I have been catching a lot of fish on them, and a lot of smaller fish. And the number one bait that I have been throwing this month is the drop shot. And how I throw my drop shot, quite simply, is a California Delta drop shot. We do it a little bit different out here in the Delta because we have a lot of weeds. So I just want to take the time to go over that real quick. I prefer to throw a 1/2 ounce weight. It gets down to the bottom quicker. The current will sweep anything less away before you could get it into the correct position. I find the current will move it. So with that moving water, I prefer to throw a 1/2 ounce, and it gets me down quicker as well. So a 1/2 ounce weight. I do about 1 foot to 1.5 foot leader. I prefer a 1.5 foot leader. I like a big leader. Most of the guys that I see drop shot, I throw a little bit bigger of a leader than at about 1.5 foot. So we talk a little bit about the worm. I mentioned that this worm last month, but this worm, I just have to mention it again just because it is so deadly on the Delta right now. That's the Zoom trick worm in the Moondust color. It's basically green pumpkin with some blue flake in there. It looks like a little bluegill. I like to dip the tail in the chartreuse. This is an absolutely deadly finesse worm. I've been catching 20 bass a day on this. A lot of small ones, but I've been getting some good ones too. I know that I could get a limit on this, no problem. You know, a couple pound bass, 5 of them, and work from there every day. I'm catching 20 bass a day on this. 4 hours of fishing, no problem. We'll talk a little bit about the hook too. Out here, we Texas rig our drop shots. If you're looking for a good drop shot hook, I use the Gamugatsu. The Aaron Martin's finesse worm hook is really good. Texas rig your worm on that, makes it completely weedless, and you got a nice California Delta drop shot. Absolutely slaying them, you guys. It's just phenomenal. Dip that tip in chartreuse and it's absolutely deadly. The next thing could be said about my next bait, which is the Senko. Senko bite is just fire right now, you guys. I mean, it's always good, but the Senko bite, if you're throwing a Senko, you're just going to outfish everybody else on the boat right now. You may not be catching the biggest ones. What I find, I throw a 5 ounce or a 5 inch Senko, excuse me, which is pretty standard. If you're looking for a bigger bite, maybe you could try the 6. I know guys who exclusively throw the 6, but I throw the 5 because I feel like I get bit a little bit more. The smaller bait appeals to a few more fish than the 6 inch. And as you can see, I'm throwing that in that same green pumpkin with the blue color. Just throw that color, you guys. I also dip those in chartreuse, and you will see that these fish are just absolutely nailing these young bluegill that are swimming around right now. And you guys, I've just been absolutely killing them. So in addition to these 4 baits that I've shown, I've caught fish, you know, throwing other things, throwing swim baits, throwing a jig, caught a nice fish on a jig out of some toolies this month. But these 4 baits are what I have in my hand, 90% of the time. This is just what's been working for me right now really, really well. So that's basically going to be it in a nutshell for this month. Get out there and throw some bluegill colors and catch some really, really big bass, you guys. There's a lot of hyacinth, a lot of top water vegetation right now. It's in its peak. It's all over. Punch in it. Not a lot of guys are fishing it. And on these hot days, those big bass just like to hang out under there. So that's where they are. If you're not finding them elsewhere, go look in the mats, you guys, because that's where I'm finding them. 4-pounders, 6-pounders. I'm doing that at high tide, ripping them. And where I'm finding bass, when the tide lowers, I'll move out a little bit and I'll throw that drop shot. So it's working really well, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again, everybody, for the support. I'm going to be getting into a few more details onto my channel next month, and I want to take this time to invite you guys to join my social media. I realize I don't post a lot of fish on my YouTube channel. If you do want to see some good fish, you guys, I'm on FishBrain. I'm also on Instagram. Check me out. I post big bellies on there all the time. It's a lot easier for me to take a snapshot of my fish than struggle trying to get it on film. So take a look at that, you guys. And again, I appreciate the support. Let's keep moving, and I'll see you next time.